We have a corner like that on the museum, but it's a bit taller. So the more that you can match things that are... And in West Bend, so a common misconception is, yeah, of course, light and matter particles are the exact opposite, but they can be cataclysmically similar. Whereas when antiparticles and particles of matter collide together, the annihilation is like a hot flash. And that hot flash can have a resemblance of both of them together in a state that's equal. So there's three the lighting up there, we're gonna have to zoom in. The darker it gets out here, the lighter that this will be. I'm like a Hawkeye, so I can spot this easy. In Milwaukee, we've got street lights that have purple, and I noticed that that's that up there. And so if it were the split second between an eclipse opening and you're staring at it, that amount of burst of white light is a certain dynamic that would be equal to making the purple light above the steeple disappear. And it is not a firewall, but it could be used as a safeguard. Meaning the makeup within it, they don't know how correct it could be, but they think it could stem off strings. In any case, this is not a gargoyle, but this is a human figurine, kind of like the lady that goes dun 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 in a Paramount movie, or maybe it's the other movie one. Anyways, I gotta jump off this tree in front of this courthouse building. The dynamic of this bush isn't as strong as the impedance of some of these lights that are more reflective, but as a collective, it has just as great angulars that are cut, and the mixture of landscaping and architecture, the more melding them together is going to equivalent for quantum mechanical interferences that are more preferable if you're playing a game with the rules that shouldn't be broken by cheaters. I had an idea for a game once where you could play chess with the Statue of Liberty being a certain stance of like one of the pieces in chess, and the more that you can emulate the weight of it, the easier the pulling off the maneuver would actually be. We're in the majestics of eye candy. The corners are getting caught by light, and that's making a more unique dilation of what a measurement could be for a fantastic game of chess. If you're trying to play chess more than someone else could if they had a regular set. I think I'm so well traveled because in Iowa they have fire hydrants that are green, and then over here in Utah they have ones that are red and yellow. If we get taken out as a society from products that are foreign just because we couldn't handle common goods, it would be an embarrassment to the entire world. So in becoming more animated, because when you're animated it's not embarrassing, it's entertaining, there's like square one where in Utah they've got these beehives everywhere. And on some of them, they're like ropes. And then, so the relation between a rope and a beehive is something that is a patent. And what is a commodity? If you can look at a certain brand and have it be something that is natural in any part of the land, for it probably is something not as great, because
head east toward west.
Familiarized in different places of the land would mean that it's not specific to local. And so when it comes to locals, it comes with having to know like what would be a strange.
Turn left toward west.
And the things that are strange to locals isn't
turn right onto west.
Heinous activity. And if that's the case, then why would spreading something that has,
Head north toward west.
such as cutting off another person when they're speaking, is just the same as me trying to speak over the AI robot. But when it comes to a physical form, that would be more something in the lines of getting hit with a stick. If the stick was a pathogen of a different person that was not of your lineage, that's what it means to get taken from a disposition from a non-familiar locality. Large-scale production is going to sound really stupid at first because large-scale production isn't firing off of what quantum mechanics is. But it's as easy as the pigeonhole or whack-a-mole. Which one of these capsules are darkened and which one has a bit of light under it? All of them but the far right. All of them but the far right. Me looking at this is just like a satellite dish when they have like the circle and then they have the little spigot in front of the circle. It's the same component as this, just spaced out differently. Spacing out differently is something that is not short-sighted when it comes to using materials properly. And that could even mean if they're underground or in the air. The axis of symmetry, as long as it's a diagonal and it's Pythagorean, photons are in play. In a material world that's always changing, what's best to be at the cutting edge is to know how fine a slice can actually mean. Within photons, there's so many different ones because they're all different in expression of exchange rates. The exchange rates of a photon are infinite. Just by kicking up and exciting this grid, it's a play on because this is getting polarized with an effect. So add effect in lieu with vibrating these, the relation of the speaking of like sound into material. This is what I was clicking a static button and was making like a doorbell sound, but it was the click at the same time. Those two are in relation, speaking to each other, because that's what the finer dynamics of larger scale structures try to interpret. I'm trying to do the most complicated thing possible, represent a photon, its expression to what a matter is. It's dialectic. The characteristics of material can be summoned through probably binary and call mode, which switches do, via photons. But for matter, you have to handle getting caught in corners. And so the larger scale spectrums are doing the same operations, but on much larger scales. For that to be accounted for, you need to invoke how a diagonal is part of a photon packet if it's a square, and how many diagonals of a Pythagorean can account for platonic shapes. These are things that photons probably are most accustomed to. If any material shape, that would be their ordinances.